Hey Saints. Well, it's been several days. I didn't know where to jump in on this whole Turkey thing. When that coup first happened, if you were following it, I think in the first few hours, the military leadership supposedly posted that they were in complete control and that everything was, in hand. And then it was only 2 or 3 hours later that the uh, existing Turkey government said no, the coup had been put down. And now we kind of know the truth is not only was the coup put down, but very likely it was a manufactured coup to purge people that were coming against Erdogan here. We'll talk about that in a second, but let me kind of go through a couple things. First off, I was getting ready to do another Bible teaching. I think this is kind of a fun one. This is on the church's, I'm assuming it's our eternal position in heaven. And Pastor Patrick asked me to do teachings on Tuesday nights. And so I had this ready to go yesterday, but he's traveling, has bad internet connection, so we're holding the live deal until next Tuesday, and Lord willing, we'll do the teaching on our heavenly position next Tuesday. I'm sort of debating maybe just reposting the teaching on my own channel after the live show, because when the live thing is going on, lots of people are either asking questions in chat, or we're taking a praise and worship break, or we're talking about 3 or 4 other subjects concurrently. And a lot of people can't show up right during the time for the live show. So I'm thinking, I can probably do a condensed teaching without all the other stuff going on and just post it to my channel afterwards. So look forward to that one. The more I dig into it, the more I think, wow, the Lord has got something in store for us that's just unbelievable. And, I'm kind of anxious to share it. When I heard we were postponed, I was semi-thinking I would just do the teaching for my channel, but, I promised Pastor Patrick that I would do it for his live show, so we'll save it till after then, or for then. And I know I've done this a few times before, but this prophecyupdate.blogspot.com is a great biblical news aggregator. This guy named Scott, I pointed this out a few times. And so I usually look at this like in the morning, go get the coffee, scroll through, see what he's got. He does a good job. He usually posts once, a lot of times twice during the day. And so it's very current. And this has been all over the headlines recently in different websites. Erdogan holding U.S. tactical nukes at base. Erdogan now targeting 50,000 dissidents following the coup attempt. And this is where you see it was, a manufactured coup, because the first thing off is it only lasted whatever that was, 6 hours, 5 hours. Secondly, you saw the speed with which they were able to both identify, round up, and detain, and in a lot of cases, I guess there was executions involved. But within a matter of hours, the government was able to grab, I think it was like 1,500 people just in a very short amount of time. And now it's only been a few days, and they've got 50,000 people, dissidents, following the coup attempt. If you read the articles, the dissidents are teachers and professors at colleges, and the extended military that maybe wasn't as pro Islam as Muslim Brotherhood is is here Erdogan is pro-Muslim Brotherhood. And his police force is mainly a militia now, is what this article is claiming. And that's how they're doing these big roundups, is militia style. And so you know there's not very much of any process put to this. They're just literally grabbing people that were on the list and jailing them or shooting them, which sort of sounds like where the whole world is heading anyways. But this article, here I'll bring it up. This article is Walid Shoebat, Freedom Outpost, and he makes a couple other points which are interesting because he talks about recent statements Erdogan made that are basically the identifiers for the Mahdi, and he more or less attributed the statements to himself. So Walid Shoebat, is very pro-Muslim Antichrist kind of guy, and so he's pointing out that Erdogan is even using phrases from the Quran, and I suppose from the Hadith, talking about how he's fulfilling the Islamic Mahdi's role. And the key thing is the conquering of Constantinople or Istanbul. And what I find is really interesting about that is there's the Jewish, I think it's Kabbalistic prophecy that was also given about how when Russia takes Crimea, the city of Crimea, something like the Messiah can be heard coming or something, and then when he reaches Istanbul, that put on your Sunday clothes, or your not Sunday, Saturday Shabbat clothes, because he's right there, he's at the door. And again, these are non-biblical, but I just find it strange that you got a couple of prophetic utterances coming from supposedly completely different camps, and yet they're aligning on, these key milestones that have to happen. Now, in the case of this article, it also points out that Islam is looking for a 7-year rule for the Mahdi, which, would match the 7 years of the Antichrist on earth. And so just really keep your eyes pasted on this. I am very neutral on where exactly the Antichrist comes from. I don't think that Daniel 9:27 statements about the Antichrist necessarily means that he comes out of the old Roman Empire. He could even be non-terrestrial, which I think is a possibility as well. Or I think he just has to have some genetic link going all the way back to Nimrod, but where exactly they claim he comes from, maybe like Obama, nobody will really know. But I'm just not looking for the Messiah or the Antichrist from a specific place, because the church is promised to be gone before the Antichrist shows up. And so it's interesting to speculate about, just like speculating about when's the rapture, but I don't think we're really going to know till we're in heaven. And so, I'll put some of these links below. Freedom Outpost article, I think that one's interesting. This one here, the new Cold War is no longer cold. NATO expands military presence along Russia's border, lying all the way to Barbarossa too. And, I've hit this a few times in the different updates, but NATO is surrounding Russia and provoking Russia. And so there isn't nothing new about this article. Matter of fact, this is a Daily Sheeples, maybe more of a conspiracy theorist kind of a website, but they're stating the facts of what's going on in here. And so I don't think it's too much of a stretch. We've reported on this several times about how NATO is poking Russia in the eye. And then this one here that I had on the screen when we started here, Erdogan, Turkey ready to restore regional peace together with Iran and Russia. I'm like, wow. You know, to me, this is absolutely bombshell. So let's go read our passages here just so we all know why. Okay, here we are in Ezekiel 38 in the Bible, and you guys know I keep making this point, but I'm getting pretty convinced that this is also seen in Revelation 6 at the fourth seal judgment. So again, I personally think the church is gone before this war happens. So we're mainly looking for a sign for the setup to this war. Verse 1, and the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and prophesy against him, and say, Thus saith the Lord God, Behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and I'll turn thee back and put hooks in thy jaw, and I'll bring thee forth and all thine army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, and all of them handling swords, Persia, Ethiopia, Libya, with them, all of them with shield and helmet, Gomer and all of his bands, and the house of Togarmah, and the north quarters, and all his bands with many people with thee. And I don't think I put this in a recent video, but let me start from the end and work my way backwards. From the north quarters, or the north part, this is that Sophani, I guess it is, properly hidden, dark. We see the northern army in Joel 2 as well, and then in Ezekiel 39 it also calls this army the northern army. This is the group that I think represents very likely the Nephilim. And so here, you know, in my little interpretation, you've got this northern army, maybe not just meaning directionally north, which would be the common interpretation, but I think this can also, as it says down here in the definition, could be hidden in a dark army, as of the northern quarters, gloomy, unknown. You know, if that whole alien deception is part of the story, which I believe it is, I think it's seen here in this reference to north, just not being geographically north, but being the hidden and dark army that's going to show up. And then we've got Gomer and all of his bands in the house of Togarmah, which Gomer is, there's as many opinions as there is articles written, but it could extend as far as Germany on the west end and extend east to even to some of the stands, I guess. But you know, that one's hard. But Togarmah and up here, even Meshech and Tubal a lot of times are presented as potentially being Turkey. And then you got Persia, which is Iran. And then you got the northern African countries here, Ethiopia, not just being Ethiopia proper, but the North African countries here with Libya. And they're all in a great company. And now, you know, there's a couple of camps on this. Where is the land of Magog? So Gog is referenced multiple times in the Bible. Amos 7, I think in the Septuagint, it might be in Numbers 24, and then here in Ezekiel 38. And either it's a demon spirit that spans time, and it's also in the last rebellion of Satan at the end of the millennial reign there. I think it's in Revelation 20. So it's Gog spans time. So either it's representative of a spiritual demonic kind of a thing that inhabits the leader of these attacks, or it's a title being used of sort of a global leader or a regional leader that's bringing about these kind of attacks. I sort of think it might be demonically tied, because London still celebrates Gog and Magog and their giants. It's a strange goofball celebration. Put that in the Google if you haven't seen that. But every year, I think it's annual, they hold the Gog and the Magog celebration, and they're giants. They're celebrating giants, So was there a Gog and or a Magog that were Nephilim way back in the day? And is it the demon spirit, according to the book of Enoch, I think it is, the spirits of the giants, when they die, become the demons that, can inhabit people throughout time. So is that what Gog means here? Or does that just mean he is the leader? I don't know. Meshech and Tubal, lots of debate. Is that Russia? Is that like Tubalisk and I forget, is Moscow maybe? I forget what they think Meshech may mean. But there's that whole view that pulls in Russia with Turkey and Iran and the northern African countries here that we saw. And then there's the Joel Richardson version, which is all of these references are to Turkey. Meshech, Tubal, Magog, Togarma, the rest of those, I think he puts them all in Turkey. And how do you end up with this big debate? One, it's a long way back when this was all written. Ezekiel would have been in the 500s BC. But secondly, the problem is that they're using names of these locations from the original biblical fathers that came off of Noah's Ark. So you've got Noah and the kids, his sons, and then second, third generation, you have Magog and you have Gomer and you have all of these that are listed here. And so the question becomes, where is the land of these second, third generation descendants after Noah? Okay, so there's a trick. Now, the argument that I've studied that made the most sense is biblical interpretation should be done from the understanding or the point of view of the prophet that was writing. And so in the case of trying to interpret these passages here, you would want to get as close as you could to mid-500s BC understanding of where is the land of Magog, where is this land of Gomer, Togarma, that type of thing. And so you'd have to do your research. And boy, this goes back quite a ways. But when I was digging into it, I think it was Herodotus. Sorry, I'm probably hacking that up. In the late 400s BC, had Magog up in southern Russia by that point. And if you think about how this happened, these are the second, third descendants from Noah's Ark. Where did Noah's Ark land? It landed on the mountains of Ararat, which is in Turkey. And so theoretically, at some point, you could say, yep, everything was in Turkey. But when they named the land after these patriarchs, it has to be in the context of how they would have understood it. For instance, here in the day that Ezekiel was writing. So I think the strongest argument is still it's Russia leading a band, and they're coming down with Iran, Ethiopia, Libya, big army, and then including Turkey in these statements down here in verse 6. So that's the point I'm viewing coming from. But could Joel Richardson be right? Yes. I'm just telling you how I got there. So long story short, I'm looking for an alliance of Russia. I'm looking for an alliance of them with Turkey, which historically has been hot and cold. anybody that follows prophecy, you get the yo-yos trying to watch what's going on there, because Russia wanted to do a gas pipeline through Turkey to dominate further, Europe and the southern countries with their gas. Turkey rejected them. Then Turkey shot down the Russian jet. Now Turkey's buddies again with Russia. So it's hard to pin this down, and we could be completely wrong tomorrow the way this is going. But I think it's very significant that Erdogan now, I'll just say, did this fake coup, purged out all of his adversaries in the military, which was predominantly secular until he got involved, and now he's purging out even like the educational institutions and the police force. So he is a mini dictator, and that would give him, significant power. Now that's a huge army that Turkey has as well. So if you line up Russia, you line up Turkey. And if you look at what it says here, together with Iran, there you go. That's right now, as we sit here, if things don't flip 180 degrees in 2 or 3 days, that's one of the biggest alliances biblically that I think we'll see before we're out of here. I think this is very significant, but again, if it changes tomorrow, I'm sorry. So I thought I'd bring that to you, Saints. I don't know. I was anxious, like a lot of people, that we'd be gone before now, but since we're not, you just got to keep your nose to the grindstone and keep trying to win souls to the Lord, and take whatever gifts the Lord has given you, and really see if you can apply them here. I mean, we're somewhere in the final countdown. We're seeing things like this that, again, I'm pretty convinced isn't going to be, materialized in terms of that war until after the church is gone, and gone by a bit. I think this is seal 4. So, church is gone. Seal 1, Antichrist, or the spirit that inhabits the Antichrist, shows up. Seal 2 is going to be global war. I worry for America, potentially Canada and other places, because I think America, being the superpower, has to be taken out for these other events to take place. And then you have famine and death in seal 3, and hey, check out Venezuela. There's the utopian dream for these Luciferians, is starve the people out, no food, government in complete control. And then you get to seal 4, which I think is what this alliance here is looking like. So, keep looking up, Saints, and I don't know. Can't wait to see everybody upstairs. God bless.